The Book of Enoch, also known as 1 Enoch, is an ancient Jewish religious work attributed to Enoch, the great grandfather of Noah. Though it is no longer part of canonical Hebrew Bible or most Christian Bibles, it is considered canonical by the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church and influential in early Jewish and Christian thought. The Book of Enoch is a pseudepigraphical work written in the name of the legendary figure, composed in multiple sections, mainly between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century CE. It is written primarily in Ge'ez, Ethiopic, and survives mainly in Ethiopian manuscripts. The book is formed in many parts. The first is the Book of the Watchers, chapters 1 to 36, in which it describes the descent of 200 angels, otherwise known as Watchers, to earth. These angels defy God's command by mating with human women, producing the Nephilim, a race of giants. These Nephilims corrupt humanity, leading to widespread sin and violence. Enoch is then taken by God to intercede on behalf of the fallen angels, but their petition is denied. God commands the archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, to punish the watchers and cleanse the earth with a great flood. The second part is the Book of Parables or Similitudes, chapters 37 to 71. It contains 3 allegorical visions. It introduces the figure of the Son of Man, a messianic figure who judges the wicked and vindicates the righteous. It describes divine judgment, heavenly justice, and the end times events. It also emphasizes resurrection, final judgment, and the pre-existence of the Son of Man, a concept influential in Christian theology. The third part is the Astronomical Book or Book of Heavenly Luminaries, chapters 72 to 82. It details a complex astronomical and calendrical system revealed to Enoch by the angel Uriel. It explains the movement of the sun, moon, and stars, promoting a 364-day calendar, and it serves to correct false calendars and maintain ritual purity. The next part is the Book of Dream Visions, chapters 83 to 90. It contains 2 symbolic visions. The first vision from chapters 83 to 84 is the vision of a flood. And the second visions from chapter 85 to 90 is a history of Israel in animal allegories from Adam to the final judgment. This part portrays the rise of and fall of all kingdoms and the coming of the Messianic kingdom. The final part is the Epistle of Enoch, chapters 91 to 108. It consists of moral exhortations and apocalyptic prophecies. It includes the apocalypse of weeks, which is dividing history into 10 symbolic weeks from creation to final judgment. This part emphasizes themes of justice, resurrection, reward for the righteous, and punishment for sinners. Key ideas in the Book of Enoch include judgments of angels and humans, messianic prophecy, especially the Son of Man, apocalypticism, and the end of time scenarios, as well as angelic hierarchy and cosmology, calendrical and astronomical knowledge, as well as the origin of evil through angelic rebellion and divine justice and cosmic order. The Book of Enoch has had many influences and legacies. It is quoted and alluded to in early Christian writings, including Jude chapter 1, verses 14 to 15. It has heavily influenced the New Testament concepts of angels, resurrections, judgment, and messianism. However, it was rejected by Rabbinic Judaism and later mainstream Christianity, but it was preserved in the Ethiopian Christian tradition. It has been rediscovered in modern times through the Ethiopian manuscripts and Aramaic fragments from the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Book of Enoch was not discovered, as we understand it today, all at once, but rather in stages across different times and places. Here's a brief summary of the major discoveries and rediscoveries of the Book of Enoch. First and foremost is its ancient circulation and early references. The Book of Enoch was widely known and circulated among Jewish communities before the 1st century BCE. It heavily influenced sects like Essenes associated with the Dead Sea Scrolls. During the 1st century CE, it was quoted in the Epistle of Jude, verses 14 and 15, showing its early use among Christians. However, during the 4th century CE and later, it gradually disappeared from Jewish and most Christian canons, deemed non-canonical or heretical. However, it was rediscovered in Ethiopia in the 18th centuries. The text preserved in Ge'ez, or the classical Ethiopian language, by the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church is considered canonical. James Bruce, a Scottish explorer, traveled to Ethiopia in 1773 and brought back 3 manuscripts of 1 Enoch to Europe. Later on, the Book of Enoch was translated into many European languages. The first English translation in 1821 was published by Richard Lawrence, an Oxford professor of Hebrew. It was based on one of the Ethiopian manuscripts Bruce had brought in from 1773. Later on, there were many discoveries at the Qumran, or Dead Sea Scrolls. From 1947 to 1956, fragments of the Book of Enoch in Aramaic were discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls in Qumran Cave 4. These fragments date to around 200 BCE to 100 BC. Their discovery confirmed the book's antiquity and Jewish origin, and that it was respected amongst Second Temple Jews. Some important milestone events include the fact that the Dead Sea Scrolls were used before the 1st century BC and widely known among Jews, especially apocalyptic groups. It was quoted in the New Testament in Jude 14:15 and brought back by James Bruce from Ethiopia to Europe. In 1821, the first English translation was made by Richard Lawrence, and from 1947 to 1956, fragments in Aramaic were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. For early Christianity, the 1st and 3rd century, the first Enoch was widely read and respected by many early Christians. including, as stated earlier, the Epistle of Jude, but also early church fathers such as Tertullian, Athenagoras, and Irenaeus considered it inspired or useful. For Tertullian in particular, in 200 CE, he even advocated for its inclusion in the early Christian canon. However, there were many different reasons why the Book of Enoch was removed or excluded from canon. First and foremost were the theological concerns. Its portrayal of angels, heavenly realms, and the Nephilim was considered speculative, even heretical. Then there was the concept of the Son of Man, with strong messianic and pre-existent themes, made it controversial, especially in Jewish circles after the rise of Christianity. Then there was the association with non-Orthodox sects. The book was associated with the SNS and mystical or apocalyptic groups outside the emergent rabbinical or mainstream Christian traditions. It was also considered to align with apocalyptic sects and Gnostic elements. Then there were the concerns of the lack of Hebrew texts. By the times canons were being formalized, late 1st to 4th century CE, the Book of Enoch survived only in Greek and later Ge'ez or Ethiopic. The lack of Hebrew manuscripts may have disqualified it from emergent Jewish canon and later from the Christian Old Testament. Finally, there were the ecclesiastical decisions that were concerning the Jewish and Christian authorities. Church authorities, especially Augustine and Jerome, as well as the synods that developed in the Christian canon, viewed it as non-canonical. As for the Hebrew Bible, it became the foundation of the Old Testament in Christianity thanks to Jerome's Latin Vulgate, but it was then excluded in 405 CE. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church considers the Book of Enoch as canonical for several historical, theological, and traditional reasons. Unlike most other Christian denominations, the Ethiopian Church preserved and revered the text as scripture from antiquity to present day. Some of the reasons why the Book of Enoch was preserved in Ethiopia is in part due to the geographical and cultural isolation. This helped the Ethiopian Church preserve early Jewish and Christian texts that were lost elsewhere. The Book of Enoch was also translated into Ge'ez, or Classical Ethiopian, sometime before the 6th century CE, likely from Greek or Aramaic versions. Once included in the Ethiopian Bible tradition, it remained part of the religious canon, passed down through manuscripts and liturgical readings. The Book of Enoch was also preserved in the Ethiopian Church due to theological alignment with Ethiopian beliefs. The Book of Enoch aligns with key Ethiopian Orthodox theological themes, including the belief in angelic hierarchy and celestial orders, as well as heavenly judgment and apocalyptic visions. The idea of the pre-existent Son of Man or Messiah, seen as a reference to Christ himself, as well as the cosmic battle between good and evil, reinforcing moral righteousness, as well as the fall of the Watchers or fallen angels and their punishment, which reinforces the importance of obedience and divine justice. These themes are not foreign to the Ethiopian worldview, which places strong emphasis on angelology, judgment, righteousness, and mysticism. Then there's the Ethiopian Orthodox Church's canon was not based on the decisions or of the Roman Church or Byzantine councils, but rather developed independently from them. Their broader biblical canon includes books excluded elsewhere, such as Jubilees 1 to 3, Megabion, the Book of Joseph, and the Book of Enoch, of course. The Ethiopian canon was largely formalized by the 5th to 6th century, and the first Enoch book was accepted due to long-standing use in liturgy and doctrine. The Ethiopian Church venerates Enoch as a prophet in line with Genesis chapter 5 verse 24. Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more because God took him. The Book of Enoch expands his role, portraying him as a scribe of heaven, prophet of the end times, and intermediary between God and the fallen angels, roles consistent with Ethiopian prophetic traditions. Finally, 1 Enoch is not just preserved but actively read and used in homilies, teachings, and liturgical contexts in Ethiopia. The book continues to contribute to moral teachings, apocalyptic expectations, and understanding of angels and divine judgment.